Good evening, and welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting for January 3rd, 2017, and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. No announcements or proclamations. Given that this is the first Board of Selectmen meeting for the year 2017, on behalf of my colleagues, I hope everybody had a healthy and safe and great holiday season, and Happy New Year to the town of Walpole. So we'll begin tonight with a vote to change the manager of the Patriot Tavern from Kevin Tuhig to Stephen Hicks. Are they here tonight? Why don't you come on up, please? Sir.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the Board of Selectmen, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Berube. My name is James Gully, sir. I am an attorney at Gully and Strasha here in Walpole. We appear before this board tonight on a petition for change of manager, replacing our prior manager, approved manager, Kevin Tuhig, with our proposed manager, Stephen Hickson, who brings to the town of Walpole a great deal of restaurant experience, having been the manager of the Hearth and Kettle restaurant in Weymouth, Massachusetts for the past 10 years. Before the board are certifications for Mr. Tuhig from ServSafe and as well as tips, both service completed and before you. With your permission, may I introduce the principals? To my right is Mr. Michael Robinson, the principal of Patriot Tavern, Inc., sole stockholder. Behind me, our proposed manager, Mr. Stephen Hickson. If you have any questions for me, Mr. Selectman, Madam Selectman, I'll be glad to answer them.
Cindy, is all the paperwork?
All paperwork is in order.
Thank you, ma'am.
And did we, when they filed the paperwork, remind them that samples of
I
both
was not
food and
present.
beverage helped in the
I wasn't
decision?
there when they brought the
We
application.
did bring the updated menu if you wanted to have a look at that. Would be glad to place any orders for you.
Mr. Salvatore, any questions?
I was in there election night, and it was very nice. I have no questions, but as we always say to everybody, as far as violations, I personally, and I think the board as well, we're zero tolerance. You know, we hit back, not with a wiffle bat, but with a big softball bat, and you know, we're not going to tolerate it. There is a serious issue regarding alcohol in this town, and we don't want our kids in your establishments unless they're with their parents having dinner.
As part of the ServSafe training, that is driven home to all potential servers in the restaurant, and all parties serving alcohol at the Patriot Tavern are required by us as a corporation to be certified in that manner.
Right. The point that Selectman Salvatore brings up is even the best intentions sometimes go amok. We do a sting annually, and every single year, even with advance notice, we have 4, 5, 6 establishments in town that are caught serving minors, and there's not a person among this board that is not pro-business, and the enhancements and renovations that you're making to the Patriot Tavern are phenomenal, and we wish you all of the success. That said, please do not come before this board with a violation, because it will not be pretty, and that is not a threat. It's just the way we operate here.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah. Nance, good?
Very good.
I'm good. Great. Motion?
I'll make a motion to change manager from Kevin Tuhig to Stephen Hickson for the Patriot Tavern, Inc., 100 Main Street.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
400. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
That was fun.
Is it Mienskow? How do you pronounce it? Mienskow? Is,
Mr. Timothy Joyce showed up.
all right, okay. John, do you want to come up and, is Rita with us today? Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, sir.
Would you like to, do you have
Well, we have an open position at the Veterans Committee for a resident at large. So we had a couple applications. Rita was one of them, and I believe Tim.
is Tim here? Come on
Tim's
up,
here,
Tim.
yes.
Yeah.
So this Air Force veteran Tim Joyce, he's expressed interest in the past also about joining our committee and doing a lot of things for this town, veteran-related. He already has in the past, so he's, Tim, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, please, welcome.
Thank you. Yes, I was a canine narcotic bomb dog police officer stationed over at Ramstein, Germany. Been in the town for about 6 years, and I was participating with Robin and Chief Carmichael on the substance abuse. I don't mind people know I have 21 years in recovery, and I want to try to play a much more active role in any way I can. And veterans returning, it can be an issue, and I'd like to deal with some of the other issues surrounding any of the veterans and be at the town's disposal in any way possible.
Terrific. Well, thank you. I think on behalf of the selectmen, both Rita and you, we applaud anybody in our town that volunteers to serve on committees and boards. And when people get involved, whether it's RTM, whether it's selectmen, any of the committees and other organizations we have, it's a major plus. So on behalf of my brothers and sister up here, thank you for your participation and your involvement. Any questions, comments? Do we have two motions? Do we do them separately or together?
Separately.
There's only one position.
That's a problem.
There's only one position for the resident at large?
Yes. There's only one open.
And
I know a
Timothy-
suggestion was made of making a possible associate member, that they could possibly appoint one of them associate member,
oh,
or, I don't know
for
if that's a-
tonight, I think we could do something like that, but for tonight, since
Yeah.
Timothy's the only one here.
Yeah, so why don't we do this, John? Why don't we vote for Timothy, since he's here? Why don't you get with Jim and Cindy, look at your bylaws, and if we want to add an associate position or another member at large, why don't we go ahead, and that way Rita can join?
Okay.
Because I would really hate to turn someone that wants to volunteer down,
Absolutely.
okay?
Okay.
So why don't we entertain a motion for Tim?
I'll make a motion to appoint Timothy Joyce as resident at-large member on the Veterans Service Committee, term until April 1st, 2019.
I'll second that. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0-0. And although not a motion, do we have to vote on Rita? Or,
We have to look at the bylaw, aren't we?
okay, so as a
Bring it and
follow-up
make
for
an
you,
amendment.
unrelated to the motion we just passed, please get with the town administrator and Cindy, and let's see what we can do to have to expand the committee.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard, Tim.
Thank you.
Okay, with the time being 7:12, we'll go on to the topic of trash collection and single-stream recycling. By way of background, I've asked Robin to come and give a brief explanation and an overview of what we're trying to do, or the proposal of what the town is trying to do. I will tell you this. In the past 2 weeks, this board has received over 100 emails and phone calls, separately and collectively, to the board. It's very interesting. This is a charged issue. Of the 110 either emails and calls that I've received, it's split down the middle. So the way I would like this to work tonight is have Robin go over a couple of the key points. We will discuss it. We will open it up then to the audience. If you have comments to make on this, let's try to be as succinct as possible, and then we will vote on it. And if that's okay with my colleagues, I'll turn it over to Robin.
Thank you very much. First, I want to say thank you to Aura and Louise for bringing in the recycling and solid waste containers.
Thank you very
Laura
much.
and Louise, thank you. They wanted to show that our seniors can, and it is filled. People could look inside there of recycling and solid waste, and they volunteered. They wanted to do that tonight, so thank you. Okay, every 5 years, I've been asked to look at the solid waste and recycling collection contract. Our present contract expires at the end of this coming June, so that's why I'm here before you now. Any new contract requires the purchase of new equipment, so the contract needs to be looked at and decided months in advance. While I look at the contract, it's great.
Former runway model. Or current runway model.
And she does have a bad shoulder, by the way.
You know what? I want to see the medical report on that. I don't buy it.
While I look at the contract, I always look and see how Walpole is doing, what we need to improve on, how I can contain costs, and what the residents of Walpole want. A few years ago, I was able to renegotiate our tipping fee for trash, and that helped financially with our solid waste budget. However, in the last 4 years, I've seen our solid waste tonnages increase by a lot each year, and our recycling tonnages decrease. Now I know one part of the reason that our recycling tonnages decrease is that more people read newspapers and magazines online. But I wanted to look at ways to encourage more people to recycle and to curb Walpole's trash tonnages to rein in some of our costs as well. I asked 6 contractors to give me price proposals basically on doing things the same way and in doing things differently. 5 years ago, when the Board of Selectmen looked at the automated and single-stream recycling and automated trash option, they thought the program was too new at that time, and perhaps the budget numbers were not as sure as they would have liked. Since then, we have gained knowledge from many communities, and we have better cost comparisons on whether we continue with our program the way we do it now or a new way. Many residents throughout the last couple of years have stopped by the health department wondering when we were changing like so-and-so community. They remarked that they wanted recycling to be easier and they wanted the containers to keep Walpole litter-free. That alone should not be the only reason to change, but it was reason enough to re-examine the automated single-stream option. So now let's take a look at the Walpole statistics. Over the last 4 years, we went from recycling a little over 1,600 tons a year to recycling just 1,500 tons of recycling last year. At the same period, we went from throwing out 7,131 tons of trash to last year we disposed of 7,963 tons of trash. All of that extra tonnage was absorbed in the solid waste budget and paid for through the general budget. Another way to look at this is that on average in 2015, Walpole generated 2,053 pounds of trash per household, and communities without a pay-as-you-throw, and I'm not advocating a pay-as-you-throw program, generated on average 1,709 pounds of trash per household, a difference of about 350 pounds. I know that Walpole can do better than that. Currently, our curbside recycling rate is only 17%. The statewide curbside recycling rate for communities that have curbside recycling programs is about double that.
Can I just stop you there on that? So 17%, you mean 17% of the total tonnage is...
Correct.
Okay, right, 17% of the households.
Correct.
Do we know
Okay,
the
I just wanted to
percentage of
clarify
households? Thank you for that, by the way.
I don't know the percentage of households. We would have to go around, with clicks, and we can do that, but I don't have that answer today. But I do know that only 17, what we can measure is that of our total tonnage, only 17% of curbside is curbside.
And how much, other communities, is that, what number is it at for other communities?
So some double that. And I'm going to tell you, in the nearby towns of Norwood and Sharon, in 2015, Norwood generated 532 pounds of recycling per household. Sharon generated 760 pounds per household of recycling. And in Walpole, we only generated 424 pounds of recycling per household on average.
And Robin, you're somewhat of an expert on this. Is that because it's not single stream, or?
I believe it's because we could put out as much trash, almost as much trash as we want, 6 bags, that's a lot, and because we're not single stream, both of those reasons. I believe that Walpole can do better than that. Both Norwood and Sharon, the ones that I just mentioned, that are doing better than us, has an every other week automated recycling program using the 96-gallon toters. Believe me, when I've thought of this program, I've tried to imagine all of the possible problems and have tried to come up with workable solution if the town does go with the new program. I believe that this program can work, but everyone must give it a fair chance for it to work. Ultimately, it's the Board of Selectmen's decision, and I know that they've had a hard decision to make and are considering everyone's comments and concerns. Okay, so some of the concerns that we've heard about are the size of the barrels, its weight, where to put them, limited trash, replacement and delivery of containers, bulky items, and only every other week recycling, and cost of the program and the containers. So let's go over that right now. The size of the barrel. We'll be asking everyone, if we go with this program, to start the program with the same size barrel, 196-gallon toter for recycling, 164-gallon toter for trash. After a period, if it's too big, we'll swap them out on a case-by-case basis, and we'll make provisions for that. But hearing from other communities, they have urged us to wait at least a few months before we do the swap, and that's because they think people should try out the size and that it will help with less swaps later on. And on average, most communities that waited wound up swapping at the top only 2 to 3% of the containers. As you can see from Aura and Louise wheeling the toters, and I told you that Aura had a bad shoulder, the toters are fairly easy to maneuver. As far as finding a place for them on the street, most people will not have a problem, but the contractor and the health department will work with the few that might have a problem. There has not been an instance in any other town where a solution was not found. We'll work with all the residents and show people through meetings, cable, website, and literature on how to place the barrels at curbside. Again, it's not difficult. Again, people asking about more containers. We're asking residents to wait a few months, and then the selectmen will make provisions if needed for a new container if there's a large family for trash or people are really an A+ recycler. The selectmen will have the ability to set a cost for that. I would hope that the cost they set would encourage less excessive waste that all of Walpole has to pay for, but realistic costs for now and also for going forward. The 64-gallon toters are quite big, and please, everybody, please take a look inside. Also, with a recycling toter nearby and only one sort in their community because it's single stream, many people found that in other communities that recycling was easier and they really did participate more and they didn't put out as much trash. During holiday weeks, people say that they have more trash in recycling, but in actuality, most of the extra tonnage during holiday weeks is cardboard and paper. We do have the paper recycling containers at Robbins Road. It's open every Wednesday and on certain Saturdays, depending on the season, for people to bring more paper products, and we always encourage that. Bulky items. It's now present in our contract. Every household is allowed to put out one bulky item a week as long as it's not building debris, appliances, wood, or too big for 2 people to load on the truck, and they have certain size requirements. The town will put in the budget a line item to cover the same restrictions, and residents will still be allowed to put out one bulky item a week as long as they call ahead of time. It's a different truck. The contractor will also pick up appliances. It's not allowed now, but residents can pay a fee if they choose to use that added service of $17 per appliance. Every week recycling, people ask me about that. Many people want it. I think it's a great idea because it sends a great message. But presently, it's not feasible because of the expense. I hope one day it will be, and maybe even every other week trash. But we've looked at the cost, and it does add about $250,000 to $300,000 a year on the contract. How about automated recycling and not automated trash. We actually did have an option for that, and it was way too cost prohibitive, so we kind of ruled that out from the beginning. And we did ask each of the contractors to give us a price on that. Plus, it doesn't encourage as much recycling because people can still put out a lot of trash. The cost of toters and who will pay for them, this has been a big question that's been coming up. It's incorporated in the budget that we have. We did receive a sizable grant from DEP that will help offset the cost of the recycling toters, one for each household if we choose the program. I'd like to thank Representative Rogers for help with the grant. The cost for the toters, a pair of 7,350 of the toters, recycling and trash, costs $832,200, and that is going to be paid over for the 5 years of the contract. However, the toters are guaranteed for 10 years, and it will each of the toters will belong to the town after the first 5 years. So when the town seeks another contract at the end of the 5 years, we won't even have to put the cost of the toters in the next 5-year contract. I was told that the toters will last much longer than the 10-year guarantee. So what does the guarantee mean? It means that if lids, wheels, or anything else is broken, they'll be repaired or replaced free of charge. The toters will be delivered to every household a few weeks before the program begins, if we choose this program, by the contractor. He will verify addresses with the assessor's office. So what about the cost of the proposals? So when all is said and done, the new way of doing business will increase the solid waste budget by less than 3%, including the cost of the toters, if we only reduce our tonnage by 20%. And there will be a reduction. We've looked at every single community that's done this program. There's been a reduction. I put in the budget that you received only a 20% reduction. I believe that we can do better than 20%. Towns like Walpole have done better than 20%. If we keep our program the way it is, the cost that we got from the contract is the best cost that we got this coming fiscal year. It will increase our solid waste budget by almost 8%. And that's the first year, and then every year we won't be able to contain our costs. We put information on the Walpole Health Department Facebook page for this topic to be discussed tonight. We've never got this many views before, but 1,229 views were on Facebook for this. 9 said they liked it, 2 were in favor of the program, 3 had questions, and there were no objections on our Facebook page. The health department received 14 individuals in support of the program, 5 against, and 6 had questions. We knew out of this morning that the Board of Selectmen received 38 emails in support of the program, 11 not in support, and 21 people had questions or concerns. I'm here to answer any additional questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Why don't we ask some questions and then we'll open it up?
Absolutely.
Right. Mark, do you want to begin?
Sure. Just so everybody knows, I'm in favor of doing automated recycling. My issues you did address, and I did talk to a lot of people over the Christmas holiday, and the big issue was always, can I get another recycle bin? Can I get another can? And I understand you're talking about having people wait a month or so, to figure out if the need is really there, and I guess that's a good solution. The other question I got asked a few times was the bulky item thing. Is that going to continue? And it sounds like there's an option for that, and they'll call, and then you'll get that scheduled. So I think that most of the people that I spoke to personally would be in favor as long as they can get another can and still get a big item shipped. There were a few people who were against it outright, and it had to do with not having a pad or a place to leave it. They're on the side of a hill or whatever. And the only thing I could tell them is that Walpole can't be the first town to deal with that. So Russell or whoever the winner is going to be should be able to deal with that and figure out a way to do it. So I would ask the question, what do they do if there's not a good pad? Would they actually walk to a pad where they're stored, or?
So we would actually, if somebody really had a problem, we would go out with the contractor, we would meet with the resident, and we would find a place to put it that was a good solution. And like you said, there hasn't been a town that hasn't found a good solution, so I can't imagine that we couldn't put our heads together in Walpole and come
I think that's a good solution. I think you really, in some of these cases, these onesies, somebody really needs to go to the site and figure out what's
Absolutely.
up with that driveway, that hill, whatever it may be, so, thank you.
You're welcome.
Nancy?
In your numbers for Norwood, where they do 36% less trash and 25% more recycling, do they pick up, what is their pickup schedule? Do they,
Every other week recycling.
same,
and every
all
week-
of these
yep.
are the same as us?
Yes, yes.
And do you know what their numbers were before they went to?
I don't have them off the top of my head, but I do know that they decreased 36, I'm not gonna-
Wakefield,
I want to
Wilmington?
make sure that I give you the right number. So Dedham decreased their trash 35%, increased their recycling 100%. Wilmington decreased their trash 26%, increased their recycling 31%. Dracut decreased their trash 90%, increased their recycling 31%. By the way, though, Dracut, when only 19%, is because there are very high increase of new homes that are going in, like at a very high rate.
Did Dedham not have recycling before for them to go up 100%?
They had recycling before.
And would it be every household? Like, if people live in an apartment?
No, so it's only for what we're covering now. We only cover 1, 2, and 3 family homes. That's all that
Yes.
we cover.
So each of the two-family,
They would get 2.
okay. And that's it for now.
Mr. Salvatore?
So, I want to talk a little bit about, I want to thank you for putting this effort in, no matter what the result is tonight, because
Thank you.
I think the easier way as a town official would be to just say, oh, just leave it as it is, here's the report. And I want to applaud you for taking that extra effort. And I want, so, no matter what the result is, and we need, you've given us great information. You hit a lot of the questions I had across the board, and other members of the board have got good questions. So I want to start with that. And I also want to just kind of say something. So towns don't even have to provide certain services. We choose to provide certain services and other services, right? A town is like a split being. Half of it's like a government, in which we do police protection and zoning and certain things. We have the same powers as the state. The other is a bunch of services. And so some towns don't provide water, some towns don't provide sewer. So it's just a choice. So, and some towns do not do garbage pickup. We choose to do garbage pickup. There's no right or wrong answer to this. This is a choice. The taxpayers are making a choice whether they want to, possibly save $100,000 a year, which there's some issue. We're making certain assumptions to get there. But one thing we will not be assuming that 5 years from now, you're going to save a much more significant number because we're paying this $800,000 out over this first 5 years. So over the next 5 years, you should be saving at least that $800,000 over that
Something like
five-year
that.
period. And if we do better recycling, I think, I want to hear from people. I've heard from a lot of people already, and I'm not ready to discuss that part of it, but I just want people to be clear that it's just a choice. It's not like we're choosing whether we want to pay a little more, whether we want to save down the line 5 years from now, and there's no right or wrong answer to this. I want to hear from you, and it's your choice, and hopefully we'll get to the same choice that most of you agree with. And again, I thank you for all the work that you've put into this, and either way, I think we need to recycle more. I need to recycle more. I'm not very good at it.
You're on the list.
I know. I'm bad. But anyway, so I appreciate your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you.
A couple questions, Rob.
Sure.
Why not go with weekly recycling? instead of.
So if we go with, we could do whatever, like David said, we could do whatever we want. We had, I didn't put that as one of the proposals because I knew from the past that it's expensive because they still have to bring the trucks down the road all the time. One of our contractors or proposals actually included that, and it was almost, it was double the collection rate for recycling. So it would cost us, if I negotiated, it would cost us between $250,000 and $300,000 extra a year to do that. And I didn't think we were ready for
What
that.
would be the savings if we actually policed the amount of trash that people put out? I mean, at the end of the day, I think the town mandates 6 barrels, 1 large item. 6 bags. Or 6 bags, 1 large item a week, and I can tell you I don't follow that week by week, and I'm sure other people don't. But my point is, if we actually took the system we had today and tried to police it, what impact would that make, if any?
Well, in all due respect, Eric, the system that we have today, even the 6 bags or 6 barrels, is more than most communities that I know
Correct.
of. And so most communities, if they do have a limit, it's 2 bags. So if we were to police most people don't put out 6 bags of trash. So if we were to police it, and actually our contractors are supposed to police it, they're not supposed to pick that up, I don't think we would see that much savings in
Okay.
tonnage.
And then,
I really don't.
if we go to single stream, who's policing what goes into those containers?
So it's a good question because, I mean, if our community was horrible and put everything that we weren't supposed to in our single stream toters, that would be a problem. But what usually happens is when the toter is lifted, they can see what goes in there. And the drivers are supposed to note that. And if they see something, the next week, they'll get out, they're supposed to get, the next 2 weeks, they're supposed to get out of their truck. And if they open it up and they see trash in there that's not recycling, they'll put a sticker on it and they'll notify the health department.
So it's not truly automated then, because it needs to be policed. And my biggest concern is that you're going to find things in there, it's not policed, and then the whole sustainability and saving the planet side of this is not fulfilled.
I agree with that to a point, but other communities are doing it this way, and they are saving money, and they are working with education, and most people, I believe, want to do the right thing.
Right.
Can I go back
Yeah,
if you're
please.
done? There was one, so the savings that we're realizing financially is the fact that now there's only going to be 1 guy in the truck, and I think it was $34 an hour for the other guy in the truck that would be saved.
That's
over
one of the
course.
savings, correct. And the big savings is also that we won't be bringing that much tonnage to the grader. And that's, next
that-
year, it'll be about $68 a ton.
Right, so, I mean, there's certain assumptions to be made. I know you say you're conservative about the numbers, but you're assuming that more recycling will occur and that's where that savings is going to come. But you're also making, so it used to be that recycling was free to get tipped, right?
Correct.
And now it's how much?
Well, that's because we used to sort everything, and now we bring it to a place that has to sort everything there. But there is a value in the market. So in the negotiations, I have not a tip floor, but a ceiling price that we won't pay more than, so we know how much, and that's in the budget. And even with that, it's still cheaper to recycle a ton than it is to throw a ton of trash away to Wilbur.
Right, so it's like $68 a ton for trash and but we pay $25 a ton.
Well-
We'll be paying $25 a ton for recycling?
Well, recycling is pretty cyclical. Last month, I think most communities were paying $10, $11 a ton. That's a big difference between it. Sometimes it goes up, but it doesn't usually stay up at a high.
But if it's sorted, there's a different price for sorted
Correct.
recycling and regular recycling?
Correct, but the studies from all across the country, including Massachusetts, show that when it's single stream, tonnages are up because people recycle more.
Yeah. And so what's the price for the sorted recycled materials?
Again, every month, it changes.
I know, but like right now, what's the current price for each
So
one?
in our contract right now, we're not paying anything for recycling because we're still in this contract.
So and
Paper usually has a value, and so but our paper tonnages have gone down. So our tonnages that are staying the same are plastic and cans, and those are light.
So if we stayed the same route without the new containers, we'd still be paying $0 for recycling if it's sorted?
We would, I believe so, for this contractor.
And how do commodity prices affecting this? So paper, are they getting good money for paper? Are they getting good money for aluminum?
Right now, they're getting good money for aluminum, yes. For paper, yes. Plastics, not as much. And like I said, every month it is cyclical, and it will be a different charge every month. But originally, none of the proposals had a ceiling, and we have a ceiling price.
Do you know how much aluminum, so we don't currently get any money for the...
We don't get any money for any of that now, no.
But in this future one, there is if the commodity prices go up, we do get a benefit?
Correct. So if it's a good recycling, we have to pay kind of a handling fee at the materials recovery facility. And if the commodity prices are higher than that, then we would split the market price 50-50. We would
Do we know how much that we recycle now is aluminum?
I don't want to give you a misfigure.
All right, thanks.
Great. Any other questions?
No, not right now.
So why don't we open it up to the audience, and I'll begin with Mr. Snuffer.
I'll tell you what,
How's that, Cliff?
that's recycling at its finest. Ladies, gentlemen, members of the audience, Happy New Year to everyone. Alana, good to see you. I've got a couple of things that I want to run through. First of all, I want to say the people of Russell are terrific. I have forwarded that information on a number of occasions. They're prompt, they're courteous, they're very neat, and they're already performing single-service streaming. Whether you know that or not, they're performing it, which is one of the blessings that we have in this contract. And they have been for the duration of this contract. When we all had the original presentation, it became obvious that single streaming was a blessing. Today, interestingly enough, single streaming, while it is still the appropriate way to recycle, when you get to the separators, that's where the costs come in. And the reality is, to answer one of Selectman Salvatore's questions, $2,000 a ton for aluminum. What I have as a problem in this process is the following, that when on November 8th, Mrs. Chappelle first exposed this new project to the Board of Selectmen through the town administrator, it happened to be coincidental with the well-intentioned people who are seeking free all-day kindergarten to explore that possibility also. And I just want to say that while I'm a supporter of recycling and a supporter of the seeking of the free all-day kindergarten, they ought not to be linked. The town administrator was first notified the Board of Selectmen on December 1st. Basically, a month went by, so I assumed that there were conversations taking place with the contractors. On December 6th at the Boyden School, where every one of us who were there, as you know, were worried about a train, not necessarily a conversation with respect to trash and trash handling, the conversation on trash was basically unnoticed. The town administrator directed folks to go to the Board of Health website, where, if you will, the sales pitch emphasized the following, that there were no tipping fees. The same site, I noticed, was done in the year 2012. No tipping fees, and it was related twice as one of the big reasons to go for this program, and that it was touted as a real bargain. Am I to presume now that it is not a bargain? I went and I had a conversation with the town administrator, and I respectfully asked that that be taken down because it was disingenuous. And I wanted this very important subject to have a fair and clear hearing ahead of that. As of today, it remains up. If you go online now, you will see it. Tipping fees are essentially a tax. What my good friend Chairman Kraus said, what if we police it? You do not, respectfully, sir, ever want to be in the business of being a trash police officer.
Correct.
You also don't want to be in a position where, like in Norwood, if someone needs that second barrel, they have to go to the town manager's office, fill out a form, have a conversation, and say, please, sir, may I have more? I need one more barrel. I don't want to see that happen in the town of Walpole. With respect to what we now have, we have all invested some dollars, and I use the low price at Home Depot, for example, $20 a container. There are 6,000 homes in the town of Walpole. Of those 6,000 homes, if we paid $20 a piece for 3 barrels, you're asking us, as citizens, to throw away $360,000. You're also asking us to figure out how to recycle those barrels. If you're further asking these same citizens to pay for an additional approved container, if you go to the yellow-lined budget that was provided by the health agent, Mrs. Chappelle, you will see that they're $112 a container. I don't know whether you get that free if you tell a good story, or whether or not you get an invoice and a bill that follows. In any case, it's likely that that budget shows only 35 families needing that barrel. I say you're going to need 2,000 of them. And if you do that, who's going to pay that $400,000? And is that what's going to help your budget go skyrocketing and look good? Our citizens need to go before someone, and you've provided this forum, based on the disingenuous information that was out there. And I apologize, but I'm not apologizing for my language. The information was not correct. It was disingenuous. And they're here to help you make a decision. I'm suggesting, Mr. Chairman, you were very much instrumental and a part of the decision 5 years ago that created what I consider a 5-year success program. And you have plenty of time in this contract. You don't have to rush to judgment tonight, and you certainly do have a need to take a look at all the variables. And I'm sure that's what you're going to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Robin?
Thank you, Cliff. I just wanted to make a couple of comments. I did put a budget in there for some recycling and trash containers, and those were for new homes that would come online. So that was what, just to clarify, that was what that was for. As far as the video that we put on, I did put a disclaimer that the figures, the monetary figures, were not correct. I wanted to show people what the program was of what an automated recycling is. So I apologize. I did not mean to be disingenuous, but those figures were from 5 years ago, and I'm telling you what
I saw that
the figures are now.
Yes, that was there. Yeah.
So, thank you.
All right, thank you. Sir?
Vic Senna, Precinct 8, through Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Does anybody know where the trash goes and what happens to it now? Let me tell you, okay? It goes to Wheeler Breda and Millbury. Wheeler Breda is a power plant, okay? And our trash gets separated, burnables from non-burnables. The metal gets recycled, the burnables get burnt in a safe boiler. It produces enough light, okay, to power 47,000 homes from that one plant. Okay? So where are we going wrong? What do we need to change? This is only going to take and add more cost to the town, to the taxpayers, and to the taxpayers of Walpole. I tell every one of you, okay, to vote against this, okay? And I would ask the Board of Selectmen to put this to the town as a vote, okay? Because this is not right, okay? Recycling sounds wonderful. Most of the people in Walpole recycle, okay? All right, but when it gets to the trash plant, okay, it gets burnt, and the other stuff gets shredded and recycled. Does anybody have any questions?
I do have a question. So, it's, of both of you, whoever has the answer, but, so our trash gets burned as well, or just the recycled materials?
The trash gets burnt as well, okay?
So they pull out
And,
the burnables out of our trash?
right, they take the burnables out. I've been in trash plants. Most of you haven't been in trash plants, okay? I've been in trash plants. I've seen the recycling process, okay? Everything gets picked out, all the metals get picked out, all right? And the burnables go into the boiler.
Right.
They get burnt, they create steam, they turn turbines, they generate lights and electricity for nothing, okay? Now, I know the kindergarten issue is on the books, and I hope this is not a way to enhance revenue to the town, okay, by charging trash fees. I would ask everyone in this...
Hold on. You said we're not charging trash fees, so you're disingenuous to bring that up.
Eventually,
Also,
it will come back.
No, please.
Stop, don't make things up.
Seriously.
That
I'm not
annoys
making
me.
things up.
You
But
are.
you don't
You
know
said
where
we're
we're
not.
going.
I know the way
Seriously.
things happen in this town.
Stop.
Stop, please.
Okay, I will.
Thank you. Yes, Robin.
So I just want to say that our recyclables they're not allowed to go to Willebrator. There's things called waste bans.
Right.
And if trucks went with paper and plastics, they would be stopped, they would be fined, and so every town has to have a recycling program that has to go somewhere. I also want to just say that I've started this process of this contract about 8 months ago. I've started first talking to different vendors, talking to the state, talking to different communities. Then I put out written proposals and asked for responses. Then I negotiated. Then I was ready in the beginning of November, and I was waiting for the selectmen to be ready. So that's all I was concentrating on. That's what my department does, is the trash and solid waste.
Right. And then, Robin, at the end of the day, other than food byproducts, everything's recyclable, correct? Correct. Right? So, thank you.
I would say even food byproducts are burnable,
Right.
okay? And they do burn them,
Yep. Thank you.
okay? That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Please. Oh, I'm sorry.
Can we, before this gets into, I did see something about this, that there's savings on this for the next year, and that the savings is going to be appropriated in a particular way. The fact is, there is no savings. Next year is going to be more expensive no matter what system we
I wanted
take.
to talk a little bit
Yeah,
about
please.
that.
Before that,
Yep.
Right now, the two proposals that your board is considering is the status quo, which is an increase of about $27,000 to the general budget, or changing over to this automated, animated recycling, which is about $127,000. So there's a little bit of a savings, depending on which way we go. It's about $99,000 or
but
so.
they're both more expensive
They're
than
both
this year.
more expensive. Trash
Than this
fees are
year.
not included in it.
Right.
And if I would, part of my budget recommendation, if you decide to go to the automated route, 66% of that, as you know, goes to the school department.
No, there is no savings.
No,
We're paying.
I'm
we're-
budgeting for the higher amount right now.
No, but there is no $100,000 to give to anybody. It doesn't exist. It's more money next year than last year.
Yes.
So why are we budgeting $100,000 to anybody?
I have to budget for the increase, because it's an increase.
Well-
So if it's a...
First of all, that's a whole, I don't know. First of all, I think there's another $100,000, let the school department come and prove that they need a certain portion of that $100,000. They don't automatically get $67 cents on a dollar. I don't know where that concept comes from.
Yeah, we can get
But,
into that.
but I know that, and the whole, that this money can be earmarked for kindergarten, is that a possibility?
That's something I think we should discuss during budget session, but honestly,
I mean, it's only $100,000 out of
Right,
$1 million
right. This is the
project.
first time this
All
has
right.
come up.
So, I mean, I don't want to, I think the kindergarten issue, the kindergarten issue is, I don't think the school board wants full-day kindergarten.
But
And
that's
I
not
think
here
they're
nor there.
I know, but
Right.
they're telling these poor people to run around and find funding sources and find $100,000 here towards kindergarten. The poor people should be just told what's really going to happen. And if we have there's no $100,000 savings. Next year is more expensive than last year. This is like some kind of couponing mentality that all of a sudden we're gonna give $66,000 extra to the school because we're taking from people's. So if we go that route, we save $100,000, and all the people that only services they get are trash and police, fire. They don't get any school services. You're taking away from their side of the budget and then sending it to the school. I don't know. This extra saving money, this $100,000 doesn't exist. We're either paying more or we're paying more either way, and I don't understand that part of the scenario, and it's going to complicate things tonight because there are kindergarten proponents out here, and I think we should resolve that issue.
Let me just jump in. You've gone a little further down the conversation to even talk about schools. I'm not here to talk about schools.
Well, it's in our paperwork.
But as I look at the numbers right now, if we keep the current system, our costs are increasing by about $127,000 next year. That's the cost difference from what we have now to do the same thing next year. If we switch to recycling, what we're saying is our costs increase by about $27,000, $28,000.
Correct.
So there's roughly $100,000 in savings in the first year if we go to the big cans and the automated pickup. And if people over time recycle a lot more, there's potential savings down the road because we'll be paying a much lower fee per ton of the recyclable stuff that they have to sort versus the recyclable stuff that makes it all the way to Wheelabrator. So those are the two numbers I'm focused on. Don't make any changes. It's about a $127,000 increase. If we make the changes and do automated pickup, there's an increase of about $27,000. So from my point of view, there's about a $100,000 swing by automating. And again, as I mentioned earlier, I know there's issues with automating, and it will affect different people different ways.
Right, and it's $100,000 we can use for the increased medical costs that are coming forward. It's
That's
not
all I'm
going to
saying.
school.
No.
Yep, no, that's, I think we're in
It
agreement.
doesn't really exist.
Right. Please.
Hi, we're a family of 5, and I'm a big recycler here in
Right.
town.
Name and street address.
Donna Donellan, Hitching Post Drive. We recycle every 2 weeks, about 5 or 6 of those regular-sized bins that are back there. And our trash each week is probably just half of one of the barrels from Ace Hardware because of the recycling that I do. It is an extensive project for me because I have to separate and divide it all up, put the paper and the plastic and the cardboard, and it takes time. It's a family venture because it starts in the house and then it gets into the garage and then goes into the individual bins. I do like the streamlined process because I have seen it. My mother lives in Norwood, and I love what she does, just throws everything in one bucket, for the recycles and the trash in the other bucket. There have been no problems there in Norwood that I know of. She lives on Garden Parkway, and she's loved it, and, for all these years. The only issue that I do have is that I don't know if there is a guarantee that there will be no increase in tax and no fees instituted to do this. And I think the taxpayers, are owed that if we decide to go that route.
Absolutely.
I know I would need another recycle bin even waiting a month because, like I said, when you have 6 of those bins, it's going to fill it,
Correct.
way up anyway. And what would the additional cost be for that extra recycle bin?
Robin?
So that, to me, that would be determined having another conversation if you want the program.
Your board. It will be determined by your board.
Okay.
And so what about the no increase in taxes and no fees? Is that something that's guaranteed to the taxpayer? They would not be instituted during the contract at all?
I haven't talked to any person about that at all.
So is that something that would be looked into before you actually commit, that we know within that contract that there would not be any fees instituted during that contract time?
I would say that the selectmen would just, all they have to say is, we're not going to have any trash fees.
Right.
And then how is this, is it guaranteed that increases are not going to increase, the real estate taxes won't increase as a result of this as well?
So could I...
Jim, please?
Just a couple of quick, I would just whisper to
Sorry,
you.
Robin.
This board can't commit a future board to increasing fees, but that's not part of the proposal right now.
Right.
As long as I'm the town administrator, I'm not going to bring trash fees forward. As long as Robin's the board health director, she is not bringing it forward. We can't commit or they can't vote to commit a future board, but I'm just telling you, it's not part of our projection.
But if we pass this, it is,
It's the cheapest increase that we would have next year. If we went the same, did the business as usual, the town would have to come up with more money to support the same program.
right. If we pass this, there would be this board, there would be no increase in taxes.
But then a future board could.
Well, yeah, because, I
institute.
mean, I meant that,
Right.
you'd have other selectmen here, right? Right?
Right, okay.
Right.
All right, thank you.
The other comment that I would make is the recycling bin is 96 gallons. So most of the totes that I see in town, are they about 12 to 14? Robin, do you know?
Yeah, they're about 12.
Okay, so, somewhere around 7 or 8 of the little blue-red totes
Right.
will fit in that big can.
Yeah,
Now,
and
I also have
I'm
a big
full,
one that I
and I'm
put
full,
cardboard in.
But mine are overflowing
Right.
anyway, so.
Right.
So, but, thank you.
Thank you. In the back there? Yeah, come on up, Alice.
Susan Lawson, RTM Precinct 2, and member of FinCom. I'm very excited about this program. I've talked to Robin about it for years. I was disappointed when it didn't go through last time, and I'm delighted that it's being considered right now. To me, while it does, clearly we're going to save money the first year at least, and I think over time we will, because people will recycle more, and as they recycle more, the trash will decrease, and that costs more money to dispose of. I've seen this this new system in operation because I spend quite a bit of time at my daughter and son-in-law's house in Dedham, and my toddler grandson and I watch the trucks come every Monday morning. Every Monday is trash, and every other Monday is a bonus because he gets to see both the trash and the recycle trucks. My son-in-law is recycles everything, and they're not having a problem using the one toter. Occasionally there'll be a 2-week period where he'll hold some back. He doesn't want to get a second toter, although he could probably use one. But he holds it back, and then the next time he uses the recycling bin. So it's a system that works beautifully. The trucks come, they lift the barrels, they empty them, move on to the next house. There's very little litter. Right now, I know on my street, you get a windy day, and there's trash and recycling all over the place because we don't have covered recycling containers. If you look at the cost, if you look at the simplicity of it, I think a lot of people are discouraged to recycle because they have to separate, and they just give up and they throw it in the trash. With a single stream, you don't have to worry about that. I think two things operate here. One, the simplicity of recycling, coupled with the fact that you have to think about how much trash you're going to put in that one toter every week. And so you're gently encouraged to think more about recycling. And I think, as Robin has said, you can't argue with facts. Towns that have this automated single stream system recycle more than we do. And I think it's just a matter of getting people nudged in the right direction to do that. But if you put aside all of these things, the cost, the simplicity, the reduction of litter, two things occur to me. One, there's an environmental cost to not recycling, and I think that we have to consider that, or we should consider it. And the other thing I would say to those who are negative about this program is, why is it that surrounding towns are able to do this, Norwood, Dedham, many others, and they seem to have surmounted the obstacles that people in Walpole will put forward. I think Walpole is as hardy as any town, and I think we can find a way to make this work. And if there are a handful of people who are having problems, Robin has said many, many times that she'll work with them to overcome it. I think we have to do what's best for our town, for the environment, and I think this is the time for single-stream recycling has come, and I urge you to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Hamilton, and then I'll go over here, I'm sorry.
Bill Hamilton, Precinct 5. I was on the board when we went to Wheelabrator Fry, and we were told then, and it was under Governor Weld, that we would have recycling at Wheelabrator Fry. So environmentally, the town gains nothing by doing this. People who don't separate their trash, it's separated at Wheelabrator and Fry. Now, so the issue here is money, and that's what the issue is. And I was a little disappointed in the reaction of the board to Mr. Senna, because he brought up Wheelabrator Fry, and the issue is money. And members of this board in the past, who are sitting on this board tonight, voted for trash fees. It was rescinded. And what I want to caution the board on is you can't rely on 11 emails, 12 emails going one way or the other. People are reluctant to put their name on an email that's going to be negative towards what people in the town want, especially maybe the Board of Selectmen. What you need to do is, you're one member short now. We don't have a full 5-member board anymore. Is that true?
Correct.
Okay, you only have 4 members. This is a big decision, and this makes trash fees available. It's a simple vote of the board. I would ask the board to either hold a special election to get a 5th member. That would give the citizens an opportunity to vote a secret ballot for the candidate who says he's for this recycling, this trash fee thing, or not. Now, you can also, if you don't want to have a special election, because I know that costs money, and we're here tonight talking about money, you could wait till June. There's no rush. Wait till June. You'll have selectmen up for election, and you'll have a vacant seat up for election. So we have an opportunity to find out the feelings of the voters, okay? Now, we all know that everybody was shocked when all the pundits did all kinds of polls, and they all came up that Donald Trump didn't have a pathway to the presidency. But now, wait a minute wait a minute. And he
stay on point, Bill.
Yeah, well, I'm on point because it was when the people went for a secret ballot that they told the truth. They didn't tell the truth exiting the polls, and they didn't tell the truth when they answered polls over the phone. So,
yeah, I agree. There's something to that, but I don't think anybody in Walpole is shy. People have contacted us and told us exactly what they think. So.
I have 79 emails with names on them, Bill. Okay?
No, I understand that, but it's not everybody. Because I know people that won't do it because they don't want to have to go to the Board of Health after saying, we don't want these trash fees, to ask for a favor or help. So I'm saying that...
Understood, and we have, on average, Jim, 22% of the people that even vote in elections. So let's stay on point, okay? And the point here is, I understand where you're going with this. I would encourage you not to bring in secret ballots and Donald Trump and everything else, okay?
Well, okay, but the fact of the matter is that once this is voted, as it was in the past, trash fees were imposed. And then they were rescinded. And there were members sitting on this board that imposed those trash fees. But then they rescinded them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they rescinded them only after more people were encouraged to speak truth to power. Okay?
But there's no trash fees on the table right now. So,
Yeah,
and
but
you've heard us say that, and you can have a conspiracy theory going, but there are no trash fees on the table right now.
It's not a
Bill.
conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy.
Thank you.
Well, wait a minute now. I think you treated Mr. Senator a little shabbily.
I totally disagree.
And I think that trash fees should be considered. Leaving it out of this conversation tonight is wrong,
Okay.
because this can end up with trash fees.
Great. I appreciate your point of view. I don't agree with it, but appreciate it, and that's what
Thank
we're
you.
all about. Thank you. Mr. Moraski?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Joe Moraski from Precinct 8. I just want to begin by saying that Jim and Robin have again indicated to you in their memos that you have that they have been asked multiple times over the years to consider alternatives to the current trash pickup system.
Right.
And as an elected official, I try to travel in as many circles as I can to stay attuned to what people have for different opinions, and I've never been approached by anyone asking for new trash and recycling barrels or automated disposal trucks. I suppose one definite way of finding out what the people want is a non-binding question on the ballot, and I would very much prefer something like that in June so that the voters can decide what they want. And it is, I think, a more democratic process. What I have been asked numerous times, more times than you can imagine, is why my real estate taxes are so high, up 4% for fiscal year 2017 to an average tax bill of $7,200 for a single-family home. And I appreciate the Board of Selectmen's efforts to save money.
Right.
And I am being asked this question not only from homeowners, but also from Walpole business owners as well. And since the housing bubble of the so-called Great Recession that started in 2007, the average residential single-family tax rate has increased almost 50%, and the solid waste budget is not the culprit. I tell people who comment about the high cost of municipal government to look on the bright side, that at least we don't have to pay trash fees, and the Board of Selectmen has never imposed trash fees, which I believe is a good public health policy that benefits all the citizens of Walpole. The second point I want everyone to be clear about is the definition and practice of single-stream recycling. We've heard a couple of people talk already about single-stream recycling, and already there is misunderstanding. Single-stream, also known as fully commingled or single-sort recycling, refers to a system in which all paper fibers, plastics, metals, and other containers are mixed in a collection truck instead of being sorted by the depositor or resident into separate commodities. That's what single stream is. Now, how does that recycling work in Walpole? The residents are given bins. We got a big shipment in not too long ago, and there are still about 150 bins outside this room by the stairwell going into the second floor, all waiting for a house. Most residents separate their recyclables. Paper in one bin, bottles, cans, containers in another. Then they place the bins and any excess recyclables in front of their home. Then along comes Russell and Sons. The driver exits the truck, retrieves the bin, and he throws everything in the same hole of the recycling truck. We are now asking residents, do you want single stream? Well, guess what? We have had single stream recycling, and we have had it for years. Residents are wasting their time now separating their recyclables. There is a huge misunderstanding out there about how to recycle. So what does the new proposal that's before you actually provide Walpole residents that they are not currently getting? And as far as I can see from reading Jim's memo, Robin's attachment, the proposed budget, we're getting three things: new trucks, new barrels, and trash fees, including further limitation on trash. So let's talk about all three, if you don't mind.
Sure.
First, the trucks. They are more expensive to buy and to repair. We will pay for that. Indirectly, they lock us into using capital-intensive equipment. The cost of the new trucks must be built into the contract. Second, new trucks are slower than the current trucks being used now. It takes longer to empty barrels using an automated arm situated on one side of the truck. Third, new automated trucks are not suited for narrow roads and long dead-end streets. Fourth, they tie up traffic. Have you ever been behind one of them on Route 1A in Norwood? It is horrendous. Fifth, they can only collect recyclables on one side of the road. Now Russell trucks crisscross the street, so their time at one house is minimal. Consequently, you rarely, if ever, see a Russell truck on Walpole streets when school gets out in the afternoon. Regarding the new barrels, first, I looked at Robin's budget. I have no idea why we are showing a DEP grant for carts as a $73,000 savings in the proposed FY 2018 solid waste budget. Doing so, to me, is arbitrarily decreasing the solid waste budget. I don't see that grant as a real savings. Second, the proposed barrels encourage large households to use the larger recycling barrel to hide excessive trash. You're going to have to address that if you go that route. Third, the contents of the proposed recycling barrel can't be monitored effectively. Who is going to look into a 96-gallon cart before it is dumped into the truck to make sure all the contents qualify as recyclable? If you have ever watched Russell employees, they are like jackrabbits. They pick up what they see, they do not look at it, and they throw it in whatever truck they are driving. Fourth, they lock us into using trash barrels that must be provided through the town and not from stores that sell trash barrels. So they hurt local businesses that pay a higher commercial tax rate to the town. Fifth, if you want an extra barrel, it's going to cost you $112 according to the budget to be paid by the homeowner to the town, thereby introducing, again, the concept of a trash fee. Homeowners will also be billed directly by Russell for bulky items and will be limited to one a week. And our bylaws and our regulations are going to have to be changed if you go that route. And I do not know the process, but you may have to go to town meeting to get approval. Sixth, residents with smaller homes and yards and small or no garages have little area to store these large barrels. I appreciate Robin's offer to go out and help these people out, but that seems to me to be a little bit too much government for my taste. Seventh, when these barrels are not brought back from the curb after pickup, they are like a beacon attracting attention that a resident may not be home and subjecting that homeowner to an unwanted guest. Plus, in Norwood, these barrels get blown all over the street in bad weather. Eighth, they are not always suited for some of our elderly citizens, who more than likely would never fill them and could have difficulty dragging them to and from the curb, especially in ice and snow. We also need to find out how many other homes, not just occupied by the elderly, are occupied by one individual. 5 years ago, I think that number was, when we were reviewing the contracts at that time, 5 years ago, the number was around 2,000. So there's another segment of the population who are going to use a minimal amount of trash, have a minimal amount of trash, and probably a minimal amount of recycling. Ninth, they are not suited for homes with steep driveways or steps, or for people who live on streets that are not accessible to the trucks. So there are many disadvantages to an automated system for trash and recycling when compared to the system we have now. But to repeat, we already have single-stream recycling, but what we do is we allow each homeowner to determine how they dispose of trash, how they recycle, because each homeowner's situation is different. Plus, the system we have now lends itself to monitoring, and monitoring is very, very important to the recycling facilities that charge municipalities a tipping fee. From the reports that I have read, these facilities can't deal with items that should not have been recycled. They have mountains of stuff that they have to dispose of. So when they have these mountains of stuff, tipping fee goes up, and we have to pay for it. So whatever program you have to put into place, you have to take into consideration intensive monitoring. With the system we have now, tipping fees could remain low because Russell employees can see what is being put into the recycling truck. They can identify and remove the styrofoam. They can identify and remove the dirty pizza box. And I know that for a fact. And they can also identify the packing materials, and they can kick it back to people for proper disposal. I think 5 years ago I said we have a fetish about how we pick up trash and recyclables. Every 5 years, when the contract is about to expire, Town Hall resurrects the same proposals of automated trucks, barrels, some sort of trash fee. Picking up trash and recyclables should not be an overblown and awe-inspiring event. And we don't need to mimic what other towns are doing. You know, we should determine our own values. And if our value is good public health and giving a homeowner a break and not charging them for a tax, a trash fee, and leaving it on the tax rate, then that's what we should be doing. What we also need to do...
Joe, if you can get to your conclusion.
We also need to do is strive to get the best price for the longest period of time without any added or unknown costs. And we need to enforce the trash recycling regulations and bylaws that are on the books now. The regulations are not being enforced, and enforcement begins with Russell, our contractor. So what I would suggest, too, is when everyone is on the same page, then we can keep the current system, and we can have our citizens can make the decisions for themselves and not have government make it for them. And I conclude by saying that if recycling is so important, then why aren't we considering a recommendation where we collect recyclables every week and trash every other week?
Thank you.
Ms. Chappelle, I think two issues were brought up that I would like you to just clarify. One was what happens when the recycles go in the truck right now?
There is actually, it looks like it is one bin, but there's actually two bins in the truck, and so it is two sorts. And the reason that I know that is because right now Russell gets paid. He doesn't get paid for the commingled part, but he gets paid for the paper, so it's in his interest to keep it in two sorts.
And the other question I had was when stuff is in, so if there is, under the new plan, if there is garbage in the bin, what happens? Do we get fined when it reaches the recycling center?
No, not every single time that we do, but if all of our trucks look like they're dirty loads, then we would get warnings and asked to educate our residents. I will say that, again, that other towns are doing this. Every town is allowed a certain amount of contamination. Obviously, we, as a town, don't want to have highly contaminated loads either, and it has to do with education and people wanting to do the right thing.
And I just want to address one other thing. It's like, I want you to, every 5 years, to propose something and give us your best effort to propose what's new, what's better.
And what's cheaper.
And what's cheaper. And we'll talk about it as a town, and we'll have the conversation, and it may not go one way or another, but there's no secret mission going on. I want to hear it. And hear from people, and I appreciate your efforts.
Thank you.
Robin, before you leave, what is our bulk tonnage now?
What is our what?
Bulk tonnage.
For large items.
For large items?
It's about 300 tons a year.
For the large items.
$21,000 a year.
That, yeah.
$21,000.
Cost about $21,000 a year.
Okay, terrific. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for clarifying that. That's good.
Good evening, Harry Mercedes, President of the Walpole Chamber of Commerce. I do want to commend the last person that just spoke. Brought up a lot of great topics that I was going to be covering. My first question, I thought that tonight was going to be more of this.
Harry, I just need your address.
23 Bubbling Brook Road, Precinct 8. So I thought this meeting would be more about information being proposed to the selectmen, so you guys would go back and make a decision, or were you planning to make a decision tonight?
Hopefully make a decision tonight.
Okay. So I would like to ask you guys to hold off on that and try to come up with or find more research on the topics we're discussing. Somebody brought up some information or some numbers. We put a question out there on the Walpole Chamber Facebook page. We've got over 3,010 views over the last 4 or 5 days. The numbers from me, these are not official, but indicate that 36 people said that they want it to remain the same. 10 people said they would like to hear more about the single stream system. So that's 73% against 27% possibly looking at the single stream system. There are, and I also was forwarded a lot of information regarding other studies regarding the single stream system and what recycling actually is going to look like in the next 2 to 3 to 5 years moving forward. It's getting harder and harder to sell off recycling, whether it be to China, and that cost is going to actually start to decrease as far as what we're hearing, as far as if you're able to get X number of dollars today, those numbers are going to start to decrease. A lot of people mentioned about just doing the right thing. I think Walpole has been an incredible town when we always try to do the right thing. We all try to recycle as best we can, but we also don't consider ourselves Norwood or Dedham or other towns. You know, the theme of "don't tread on me" really proves to be the Walpole theory here. Right. And we like what we have, and we don't want to give up a service that we're receiving right now. Once that service is gone, we'll never see it again. Is there a possibility that we are able to renegotiate the contract with Russell moving forward? If it's going up, can't we go to them and say, hey, we might be looking at this single stream system at X amount of dollars. Can we renegotiate that number so that doesn't go up?
Robin?
So I got 6 proposals back, and I work with the 3 top proposers and negotiated, and what the selectmen have are the negotiated prices from up there. I got it written down. So that's the bottom line.
And just to clarify, all 6 did both, right? All 6 proposed numbers for both processes. Okay.
So when it comes to, you know, tonnage and trash, I can only assume that people in Walpole today aren't going to be decreasing their trash anytime moving forward. It's always going to either remain the same or become more. I can't see how my household will reduce my trash to the curb.
Well, statistics show if you try the system, statistics show that in other communities you will be reducing your.
So if I'm averaging 2 barrels today, which aren't as big as that, but pretty close, I'm averaging 2 barrels every week. How am I supposed to go to 1.5 barrels? Where does the rest of that trash go?
It goes into your recycling container.
So I put my regular trash into my blue barrel now?
No, you.
Because I mean, what am I going to hold off on trash for another week and leave it in my garage? I mean, I don't really see how I...
Robin, let him go through and then we'll address this question.
So that's just my question. If
Yeah.
I've got that type of average trash, so on a weekly basis, I got to hold back 25% of my trash and wait another week because it all didn't fit in there?
Harry, how much recycling do you have out every other week?
The 2 blue buckets.
Just 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we allowed to do more?
Sure.
Okay, I have the 2 blue buckets, but basically I fill those, that actually works perfect for my household.
Right.
All the paper, all the plastic, and then I've got 2 green bins that fill up all my regular trash. I do also, as a landlord in Walpole and Norwood, and I've seen the effect that it's had in Norwood. As a landlord, I've had to increase my rent in Norwood to accommodate for all the trash that's being left behind with my tenants. So if you are a landlord in Walpole, you will find that all these tenants are going to be hiding and leaving trash in the backyards, behind garages, and in the cellars. And then it's my job to come in there. When I re-rent the property, I got to call 1-800-GOT-JUNK or a couple other trash disposals, and it costs me an extra $1,000 to $2,000 per year. So that cost will be turned over to renters, just so you're aware of that. But again, my theme here tonight is I think there's a lot of information, not to say that recycling or going green is a smokescreen, but there's a lot of backside research that you guys really need to step back and look at before we make a decision. So I would hopefully ask you to not make a decision tonight, give it some more research, some back and forth, and maybe we could potentially put it on for a question ballot. I don't know. Thank you for your time.
Really appreciate it. Well
Thanks.
spoken. In the back there?
Good evening. My name is Frank Moy. I live at 2106 Main Street in Walpole. And I came here a few years ago from Dedham. And Dedham, as you know, we talked about Dedham as far as the rollout of the recycling program or the automated. And the truth be told, you know, it's nice. I mean, it made trash a little easy. You had the containering, but really forced people to have to recycle because you only have so much room in a bin. And if that's filled up, you're screwed because you only have one bin, and so you ended up having to go to your neighbors, especially if there's an elderly woman, a widow. They usually have plenty of room, so you'd have to ask permission to put your extra trash into the container. I think as far as recycling, we've got to do it, as far as trying to reuse some of these items. But I think the problem I have with and again, getting into the guts of the whole budget issue, it's not a panacea as far as it's not going to solve your budget problems. The trash costs are going to continue to go up. There's more and more people, you think about all the cardboard, you know, I look at the UPS drivers and FedEx, and everyone's ordering online, and everything's coming in boxes, which I don't understand why it's not more recyclables. But one of the things I found in Dedham is that it was really and I like seeing all these people here reading the democratic process is in place. People speak their mind. You may not agree, but it's pure. This is America. You get this, you know, to express yourself. In Dedham, it was kind of jammed down the throats of the residents, and it didn't turn out to be what they said it was going to be. As far as we did have a transfer station on Incinerator Road, so that any large items you can bring there, you can go there on Saturday, and there's no charge. And as far as getting an extra container, you know, we'll have those available. But you had to, you know, use your own devices and not be to check on your neighbors. And the transfer station work, you know, that was a good selling point. Oh, you can bring your stuff there. But then they started to gradually pull that away. And that's when it started costing you money because you couldn't put as much stuff out. If you wanted to dispose of it, yeah, you could go there and pay. They charge you by the pound. So, you know, at least they had it there. But in Walpole, we don't have that. If you don't pick up the large items, like furniture, sometimes the kids have large toys, playhouses, and things like that. That's pretty hard to fit in that dumpster. I can tell you that. Try it sometime. You have to cut it up. So I think as far as going a town-wide vote would be the sensible thing to do. Having been a town meeting representative in Dedham, this is a very charged item. You're not going to get everyone to agree on it. And if, whatever way the town votes, if they vote not to go to the automated system, then, yeah, it's going to cost them more money. But that's, majority rules. If that's what they vote for, then they've got to be prepared to pay the price. When I heard the difference in price, the cost per taxpayer, some people may argue, gee, for a little extra money, we can have more freedom as far as putting more stuff out. When I moved here and I found that there was a 6-barrel limit, I said, this is unbelievable. I think I'm in another country. Just moving down from 11 miles away. So, but the staff here, the Department of Health, has been very good about encouraging recycling. For those who don't know, you don't have to get one of the blue bins. What they did in Dedham when we cut over to the new system, they had a roundup of all the trash barrels. And if anyone knows where St. Mary's Church is, they had a mountain of barrels. You could help yourself to them. But I brought my barrels with me, because then you can just get a yellow sticker from the Board of Health, slap it on there. It's a lot better than the small totes. You can fill it up, and that's what I do. Yep. So, again, my suggestion, having lived in the tote system versus what we have now, I would, you really should take it to a townwide vote. This is a very charged item, and I wouldn't want to be a selectman having to make the decision, man. You're going to, well, how are you going to do it? It's going to be unhappy people on
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you
why
very
haven't
much.
Why haven't you run for town meeting here yet? Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
very,
you.
it was interesting.
Thank you.
But I love this town very much. It's very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Regan Milani. I live on Dunbar Court in Precinct 7. And I was born and raised in Walpole, graduated from Walpole High School in 1992, moved away to go to college for a few years, and just moved back 3 years ago with my husband, who also is a Walpole High graduate. And we're raising our small sons, 2 boys, 1.5 and 4. And I also have a master's degree in environmental management. I spent the last 7 years working as a conservation program manager at the New England Aquarium, and as such spent 5 years on their institutional greening committee. So I'm very knowledgeable about recycling, and I have to say that I'm only responding, unfortunately, to this meeting just a couple days ago. I wish I was more prepared because I'm responding to the Department of Recreation email that went out and wasn't informed about it more. So I wish I had more details to present to you. But I know that moving back here 3 years ago, I felt like I was moving back in time, like, having wireless internet in the communities that I lived in up until moving back, and then having to dial in to AOL, coming back to Walpole with the recycling program here. I mean, every other community that I had lived in for about a decade had single stream. It's in Boston. It's, I had for 5 years, I lived in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. We had a barrel that was automated recycling. And, I'm actually really surprised by some of the controversy here, because it just seems like it would be unnatural. But it is great to hear people coming out and talking about that, and I just want to say that I think that Walpole needs to be a leader on this. A lot of our surrounding communities are already doing this. The facilities, they, pick out all of the, bad items that people put in. It is a matter of education, but, having to sort was really kind of, even for me, who's an avid recycler and very interested in the environment, was sort of, I think, prohibitive almost to what you can do with single stream. So,
Thank you very much. Mr. Brown?
Tom Brown, 48 Granite Street, Walpole. Single stream recycling, I think recycling is great. I do a lot of recycling myself. I utilize the Allied Recycling down the street here in my business as well. So my big thing here is about containing the costs of this program. One is, if there is money to be saved, what will happen with that money saved? Will we be giving it back to the citizens of Walpole as in lower rates or fees or taxes somehow, and make it a true savings for people? Another thing was what Harry had mentioned. In my line of work, I'm in the heating business, like he said over in Norwood. I go over to Norwood, and they do have those 2 barrels. I go down to a lot of multifamily dwellings, packed with furniture, rugs, trash, all over the place, I'm telling you. It's a mess. So people do hoard the trash because they can't put it out, or they have to pay to get rid of it. The other one was about the, if you do get caught putting undesirable trash in the recycle, you're going to get a sticker or a fine. That's the first I've heard of that. What type of fine would that be? And who would be,
It's not a fine.
what is it, just a sticker? Like a naughty sticker? That's about it, really. It's just, is it truly going to be a savings? Or are we just going to move saved money to somewhere else?
Got it.
Is that what it's for? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Brown. In the back there?
Can I speak from back here? Because I don't have a lot of notes.
No, you got to come up.
You have to
Sorry.
be on TV.
A lot of people watching on TV tonight. All right, there's a few.
Donna Sherman, 15 Drake Circle, Swan Pond condominiums. So I represent the silent minority in the taxpayers of the town. We pay for our own trash, we pay for our own rubbish, we pay for a lot of extras. And I have been living your dream with that barrel for years now. We switched to it. I don't remember any discussion about it. It seems to work, but I will share this with you just as a comment. When that arm goes up and goes down, nobody's looking to see what's coming out of the barrel. That's number one. Number two, and I usually go around in my pod and I put the tops. When the top is left open and it's raining and you come home after a day's work, and I don't have that issue all the time, you've got yourself a nice puddle. You've got not only the weight of the barrel, but all the rain in the barrel, and anything didn't get in. So again, I am a really greeny person. I fought the pipeline. I'm working on some other projects around trash and recycling and restaurants and to-go packages, but I'm just giving you the facts of what it's all about. My other question would be, there's a lot of talk about first of all, I don't appreciate some of the derogatory comments people have made, such as sales pitches about the Board of Health presentation, and things like that I thought were very disparaging. My question to you is, do we not get paid for what we recycle? So they are getting, we don't. So we probably aren't getting paid at Swan Pond either. That doesn't seem very fair. Okay, number one. Number two is, how many of the 6,000 homes, are we counted as homeowners or tax? Who are we? I mean, when you were talking about 2,000 or one-person homes, okay, I don't know how many condos there are. Are we counted as homes, or are we a separate category?
Yeah.
In a separate category.
Yeah. Separate category.
What?
Separate category.
Right. We are a separate category from homeowners, yet we still pay the same taxes.
Right.
And I think somewhere down the road, that has to be a topic of resolution. So that's all I was curious about that. I was curious about the payment for recycling. Anything that helps, you're right. When you compare all the communities, what are you going to say? I mean, It's happening, it's working. But I just think we ought to talk more about decision-making, democratization, how decisions are made, how things are voted on, clarity of all these decisions that affect taxpayers. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Sherman. Please.
Mr. Chairman, Board of
Yes.
Selectmen, Kenneth Southwood, Precinct 5,
Welcome.
5 Neponset. One thing I'd just like to reiterate, and a couple have said it, and this translates from the way the police and fire discussion went, and ultimately, with all the positive discussion, we were able to get it done without an override. Many things have said that Norwood, Dedham, Needham, the surrounding towns. We must remember we do not have the real estate that those towns have. The business revenue that's driven. We are unique in our position where our Route 1 section went to residential a long time ago, and it's going to still take us a long time to get more of that revenue back. We don't even compete with the business revenue that the Needhams, the Westwoods that have 95 frontage, 128 frontage, better route run, business environment. So when it comes to the overall budget, everything's going up. We can talk about it. Fees are going to get discussed again. There isn't going to be a savings, but to hopefully continue the mantra with this board that we were able to build 3 buildings without an override. And if there's a chance of any cost to the taxpayers through this transition, as good as it may be, and this comes from somebody that occasionally rides on the back of a trash truck, and I can tell you, not everything gets inspected as hard as they try. But just overall in the budget, we don't have the revenue that, or the location for the revenue that the surrounding towns have.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, please. Well said.
Mark Freitas, 24 Crestview Court. Just a couple of things. One is, we're very avid recyclers. We're one of those that wishes it was recycling every week and trash every other week. We find other containers for all the recyclables. I'm at a loss to understand how this is a recycling issue, where the motivation and incentive will come, because it's pretty easy what we do today. I mean, it's almost single, it's maybe double stream, all the paper in one, everything else in the other. It's pretty easy to do. I can't really see how the magic bin is going to lead to a large increase in recycling. I hope there's a magic bullet there, but I don't really see that. My issue is much more of a practical one. I don't know if you remember us from 2012. We have, Crestview Court is a nice name for a really narrow, steep, private road with 4 houses. There is no physical way to get one of those totes, I wouldn't do it to your poor volunteer, up and down that hill. Better than a 20% grade, quarter of a mile from the road, where our services are on Park Lane. And even if we got the tote there on Park Lane, it's got a rail fence, that's where Trap Hole Brook is. There's no place to physically put the bins other than in the street. That said, I wouldn't say make this decision based on me. We already drive our trash down to Park Lane, our recyclables down to Park Lane. We gladly drive them to some other location. And I would actually propose that if you're going to implement this system, come up with a transfer station or other place where the citizens could bring their trash and recyclables at reasonable hours. And you may find that there are others like me that would opt out of the totes entirely. And another potential savings of the system would be in doing that. But please just don't leave me hanging with no way to get my trash and recycling out there.
Ken, hold on. We'll go one more and then, or actually 2 more, and then we have to move on.
Ken Guy at 35 Hitching Post Drive.
Thanks, Ken.
And you're in luck. For those of you who know me, a lot of people have stolen my thunder, so I'll keep this short. I guess a couple things I wanted to just touch on. One of the things I noted in the memo from Robin was in reference to, we were talking about the bulk items, and it actually states in the memo, and let me dig it up here. Just had it, of course. Here we go. Russell Disposal will also by appointment pick up residents' white goods for $17 an item and other bulky items for $20 an item once per week, or one time a week, billed directly to the residents. So, we've mentioned that there's no such thing as trash fees. To me, that's a trash fee, because that's not something we pay today. The other concern I have there is you're now putting the onus on the owner of the home to deal with it, where today they can put their items out. The example I'll give you, and there's a concern with that too. The example I'll give you is, as I was driving down Main Street the other day, I drove past somebody who had their trash out, and there were a couple of old kitchen chairs sitting out there. Clearly, they would not fit in a barrel. And today, those would have been taken away with the rest of the trash. Tomorrow, that homeowner would have to call Russell, schedule an appointment, and it would cost him $34 to $40 to have that taken away. Now, why would I pay $34 to $40 for what is a $5 piece of junk? My concern is what you're going to end up with is, instead of paper blowing all over the neighborhood, you're going to have the town forest with old chairs and tires and all kinds of stuff in it, because people are going to find ways to not have to pay these fees. The other question I had is on the barrels themselves. We're giving away a 64-gallon barrel and a 96 recycling bin. It's not clear to me, and I don't think a decision's been made yet on what happens if people need extra barrels. And we heard something, if the barrels get damaged, the town will cover that, or they'd be replaced for free. My concern is, how much is the town going to want to, why does the town want to be in the business of buying trash barrels? Because if you're giving me a trash barrel every time I break it, what's my incentive to take care of it? Right. If I'm paying for it, why do I want to pay $112 for a trash barrel when I can go to Home Depot and get a trash barrel for $10, $15? That fits my needs as opposed to something I have to buy. You know, one of the other things we talked about was policing this in terms of the what goes into the trash versus the recycling. You know, and as we've heard, there's not a lot of policing going on today. And you know, when we talk about Russell's supposed to be policing this, if we go this method, what's their incentive to police it? They get $68 a ton for trash. They get $25 a ton for recycling. They don't care what goes into that trash bin. Let's see. And you know, the other thing is, if this is an education problem, which it sounds like it is, then let's educate. I think somebody mentioned this earlier. You don't need the tiny little 12-gallon, 14-gallon barrels. I've lived here 18 years. I've used a 32-gallon barrel all those 18 years for recycling. The guys come, they take it, they dump it. I put my paper out in my paper bags from Big Y or Big Y or Stop and Shop or whatever, and they take it all away. It doesn't have to be in one of those barrels. And then just the last point I had, I'm a little concerned about the other section in the memo where it talked about the tip fees. And here it says, for every ton of recycling we do, we have to pay a fee. However, when the markets are good, we do earn a profit share, 50% of the profit after the tip fee. And when the markets are not so good, we have to pay 100% of the difference between the tip fee and the market value. So basically what we're saying is, as long as the market's good, we get some of the money back. If the markets are bad, we're on the hook for the whole thing. That does not seem like a good plan or a good contract. At minimum, we should be, if there's a profit sharing, there should be a loss sharing as well. So I would want to see that addressed. And I'll just, last point, I'll reiterate what a lot of others have said. I don't think this is a decision that should be made tonight. I think there are plenty of questions, plenty of things to be addressed, that doing this decision tonight would be premature.
Thank you, sir.
Just to address, can we address two things that came up that, well, I'm going to ask Robin Chappelle to answer something that you brought to mind in your statement. So what appliances currently, do they get picked up for free?
Appliances don't get picked up now, so that would be $17 a ton.
Okay.
We did have costs, you're right, for bulky items. Talk to our town administrator, we put money back, so there would be no cost.
Okay, yes, that was a previous proposal that had those. So would, under the new proposal, so a couch would still get picked up?
Yes.
Would an appliance be picked up for a fee, but was that like an added service that they'll now do?
That's an added service. If the residents want that, they would have to pay for that.
Okay, all right, so just to clarify those items, thank you.
Thank you, thank you, Ken. We'll take our last question.
Different reason. I'm not talking about money. I'm 81 years old, I live on Juicy Drive. My name is Frank Brunetto. I have about a 75-foot driveway that comes out from my house, and I go up the hill 200 feet. Now, that's pretty good in the summertime if you're dragging one of those wheel things up, but in the wintertime, when you got the frozen ice and everything, what happens with me is we use two buckets and a black bag, right? I can take my trunk and open the trunk of my car. I have a truck, but I have the trunk. I can put the 2 buckets in the trunk and the bag, and drive up the hill, put them on the highway, and I'm taken care of. I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about convenience. I'm 81 years old. I'm pretty good for 81 years old, but there are people my age, not even 81, that can't do what I can do, and it's getting tough for me. Consider that. You know, there's a lot of people that are in that predicament. It's not all 50-foot driveway and put it out there, and it's, for me, it's almost probably close to 300 feet. In the wintertime, that's tough.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Jim, quick question. As far as timing goes?
I basically need an answer today to balance the budget. So I need some direction from your board. Do you want to go with the status quo, or do you want to make some of the changes that have been proposed?
Right, and if we go with any of the options in front of us tonight, can we, it has to be tonight for your budget, correct?
I
So
really
putting
need
a
to put it
non-binding
off.
question on the ballot is,
You can do that in the future, but I just need to know for this upcoming year. And Russell needs to know, because they need to order the bins, and that's a whole process. We have to distribute the bins if you were to go that route. So I need some direction tonight.
When is the contract out?
It's up in
The
6 months.
The contract ends June 30th of this coming year. So, and they have to order new trucks, whether we do the same program or not. That's a capital expense. It takes a couple of months to order any new trucks.
And it has to be 5 years.
Yes, it's 5 years.
okay. Well, we appreciate the feedback. Nancy?
I'd like to make a motion to remain status quo with trash and recycling.
Second that.
Any more discussion?
Just under discussion, one comment I just
Sure.
want to make. I want to commend Robin.
Oh,
She's
God,
done
yeah.
an
Well,
excellent job.
I was going to do that at
She
the
took
end.
some heat tonight,
Yeah.
but she did her job today.
Well-
And I think that your board needed to see the two options. We just couldn't.
Right.
I think you needed to
Well,
weigh
there's
them
three
both.
options, actually.
Yeah, so I just want to commend Robin and Melissa in the back for the great work.
I mean, the work that our Department of Health, Board of Health does is world-class, and, you know, this is not an easy subject. It wasn't 5 years ago an easy subject when we approached it. It is an issue that people are charged about, one way or the other. There's no right or wrong here. It's what's right for the time being. And no matter how this votes and what we decide does not diminish the sweat equity that you put into this. So thank you, and
Can I
thank you.
add one more thing?
Yeah, please.
You know, this is, as I said, this is Robin's job. She wouldn't be doing her job if she didn't seek out all the options and give us the options. And just to be clear, remember, there was no savings anyway. It was either we're going to be spending $27,000 more or $127,000 more in the budget. So people that think that one was a savings or one isn't, it's all an increase in the budget. And our job here is to, well, Jim's job is to balance the budget, and our job is to decide the quality of life and what issues are important and what we are spending money on. And trash forever has been something that, and in every community, that your community, our communities have to decide which way we want to go with it. But, you know, Robin, please know, thank you. And 5 years from now, when you're back and, you know, you're giving the same talk, you know, this is her job, and
And maybe it should be 4 years from now.
Right.
Maybe you should put it, maybe we should have, maybe, no.
That's a good point.
And put it on, well, maybe we'll put it to a vote in the 4th year so that we're not doing this.
And the
Then
non-binding
maybe that-
question.
That may
I
be an
think that
idea to
would
look
be-
at.
No, that's a fair point. I think having us up against the deadline doesn't serve the town well. So I think, depending on how we vote, 3 years into the contract is when we should probably start going, because you have 4 elections that we could put a non-binding question on, right?
Or even a binding question.
Or even a binding question, but we could put a question on, but
It does come down to a choice. I mean, it's $100,000 more. There are some very attractive things about the new, about what, I second the motion to deny it
Right.
today and go status quo, but, I mean, years 6 to 10, we would be saving some good money. I appreciate that, and that's foresight. It's hard to change the status quo. I just don't feel like there's that groundswell to get there tonight, and that's why I voted for it.
terrific. Mark?
Yeah, I would just say, I'm still for the plan. I would like to see us go automated. It doesn't sound like the rest of the board is at that point where they're ready to move in that direction, but I would encourage Robin and those who are interested in seeing more recycling, which is one of the key issues for me, and the cost savings, keep working on it. So I'm going to vote against this motion, but
Okay. So, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Abstained? 3-1-0. Thank you very much.
let everybody know.
Yeah, we have a hearing. As Robin, I don't know, Bill. No, I know, I do too. Yep.
The super seals here.
Yep, got it. Thank you. I apologize for that. No, I understand that. I'm sorry. What? I don't, one way or the other.
Right. People's gonna hate us after.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter to me. Good job. No, it wasn't, that was, hey, listen.
I thought people had an opportunity to speak. I didn't realize that woman was looking.
If I was
didn't see
going
her,
one
but
side to the other,
I didn't
I
see
apologize.
her at the very end.
Yeah, yeah. Is Super Sales here?
I don't see them, so.
Yeah, well, let's go anyway. If we could exit the room, that would be great, because we have a public hearing. Yeah, Happy New Year.
Can we make a call in the hallway like they do at court?
Harry, thank you. Hey, Robin? Robin? We can... Yeah.
We still have a meeting, guys. Can we, I want to go home.
Bill and Tim. Thank you. Do we have Super Sales here?
I do not see them in the room, sir.
I didn't, did you see them
I never
earlier
saw
either?
them come
They were
in.
I've
never,
been looking for them.
no, I haven't seen them either.
I'd
So-
say next time, instead of letting the same people talk for half an hour and go on and on and on, that we listen to other people. There are other people in town who have voices and opinions. I mean, it was disrespectful.
I
Shut the
meant
whole
absolute,
down.
well, I took several
But it
people.
could have changed the viewpoint. We all had something to
No.
say.
Well, let me address that. Number one, I took a number of people from this side of the room. If I didn't select you or the people around you, it wasn't out of disrespect.
Like to hear from the same people over in this town. It honestly makes me want to move out.
Okay.
Things are really
Well, I
very
wholeheartedly
easy.
apologize for that.
Democratic process.
Well, let me address that, okay? I've received over 100 phone calls and emails, many of which were very favorable on this subject. So it's not just tonight. We do our homework and we reach out into the community on on any issue, no matter how we vote. The fact that I didn't select you, I personally apologize for that. It wasn't out of disrespect. It wasn't out of anything more than I'm trying to get as many people in here as possible.
I hear the same people talking over in town.
Okay.
It's time to start listening to new voices. There are a bunch of people who have young kids here who are considering moving into town because it's the same vocal people talking about the same things. And everyone here is always talking about tax savings, and then we actually identify a tax savings, and nobody wants to hear about it. I really, this is my problem.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
enough to make me want to put my house up.
Thank you. Okay. With the time being 9 o'clock, we'll go to the hearing for Super Sales and Service to consider renewal of a Class 2 license. Since they are not here, do we make the motion and move forward?
Mr. Chairman, I can give you
Sir.
a brief update on
Yep.
the meeting from last week. You may recall that we did not renew their Class 2 license. I did meet with them back last week.
Right.
Melissa, the co-owner, provided me with some information. I have a recommendation and a motion before you, a suggested motion. So they seem to be willing to meet everything. I'm a little surprised they're not here this evening. And I'd recommend that your board go forward with the motion. Basically, I'm proposing that we give them until March 1st on almost all the deadlines to get everything lined up. They were willing to agree to that and then revisit the issue if they're unable to comply with the issues identified.
We're looking at one or two.
Just a question for council. So the notice was for a particular time, but that just meant it was not going to be heard before then.
Before that time, exactly.
But that's proper notice for whatever time we got to that item.
Yes. Just
I looked around the room, I did not see them. I looked several times
So
during
did
the
I.
hearing,
Yeah.
and I did not see them. I don't think they were ever here. And the only other question is tax arrearages a proper purpose for not renewing a license?
There are two ways to proceed. One is to not renew. The other is, in the event that you are going to renew, but you want to renew with conditions, to put in conditions that you think are appropriate. And certainly, the tax arrearage being addressed would be one of them. You have another avenue under Chapter 40, Section 57, but I don't know that you've had the public hearing as far as that goes to give them notice under that statute.
The question
That
is,
woman think we kicked her out and closed the door?
no.
She's not here.
Huh? Who's that? I know, but I mean, does she think like we, because the door? Yeah.
Let's just
All right,
continue,
sorry.
please.
So if
You can
there was a
impose conditions.
licensee and it was solely that they didn't pay their taxes, could we not renew their license on that issue?
I think that what we're talking about tonight is whether you would impose a condition. In order to revoke, if you have a condition in the license and it's not observed, then you would give notice that that's the case and that you could bring them back for that reason. You have a separate way to do that under Chapter 40, Section 57, at any time to revoke in the event that there's an arrearage.
Okay.
That's outstanding for more than 12 months and is on the list and so on.
And you can revoke a license for that?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I wanted to make sure, that was a possible criteria for revoking. Okay. But if,
Make a motion? Yeah.
I think one.
No, they would do them both, right?
Mr. Chairman, I talked to the town administrator, and I understand that there are a number of violations or concerns at the property. They run the gamut from septic to wetlands to building with respect to the special permit, the tax arrearage issue, the fact that the premises that are licensed have been exceeded, that work is happening beyond, clearing is happening beyond whoever's property it might be. And so what I'm recommending is that you have two motions. The first motion would relate to the standard under the licensing statute, which is whether the licensee, who's the current license holder, whether they're a proper person or not. And that, so I would recommend that you consider making a determination in that regard. I've given you a proposed motion in that regard that you could consider, which would say, based upon what the town administrator has said to me, that you could determine that they are not a proper person to continue to hold this license unless these violations are addressed in a timely fashion. So that would be motion number one, if you wanted to go in that avenue. And then motion number two, if you wished, if you voted favorably, yes, it would be okay for them to hold it as long as they cure these violations within a reasonable time. Then motion number two is, yes, you will renew, but there are these conditions and with dates as to when the various items have to be addressed, with the provision that the board will provide notice to the license holder and hold a hearing regarding revocation of the license in the event that there is a violation in the future that you think is worthy of coming back and looking at it again.
So essentially, by doing this, we wouldn't be revoking tonight. We would be moving, though, that if they don't comply within...
You would be granting the license, you'd be renewing the license, but with conditions. You'd be making first a determination.
But it would still have to be a full revocation hearing as if we had granted the
You would
license
have to have
today.
a public hearing, yes.
So it's really not resolving...
So you would have two choices. One would be not to renew because they're not an appropriate person. That's one approach. The other that I understood you wanted to at least discuss this evening was to consider determining that these violations are serious and that if they continue, they're not a proper person to hold it. And if you were going to grant, that you would consider granting only with conditions that if they're not satisfied, you would be giving them very specific notice that you are holding out the potential, the strong potential, of bringing them back for a revocation hearing if the violations aren't cured as provided for here.
And I have another question, sorry.
Sure, please.
If we had their agreement to you know, because I'd just as soon revoke it. We could revoke it all right now and just let them deal and come back to us and get their license. But would it be any benefit if we said to them, we're going to revoke right now unless you come to an agreement as to the status of these other items? Does that make our job easier at revocation time if there is an agreement as to compliance during that period?
Understood. That's, you know, it's obviously a policy question, but I understand your point. And I think that here you're setting out very clearly what revocation would be all about, giving very specific notice. And obviously there are a number of things that need to happen in February and in March and so on. And if they don't happen, you've got the roadmap for a revocation, as opposed to them coming forward right now and saying, well, you haven't renewed us, you've told us you're not going to renew because you haven't, presumably because you made the determination that they weren't a suitable person for all of the reasons that we're talking about. That's one way to go. That could lead to litigation, could lead to, you know, various costs that the town might incur. And I'd understood that there was a productive conversation with them, with the town administrator and the department heads, to try to put together a set of milestones for them to address. But it's a policy question for the board as to which way to go.
Do we have a sense that they're going to be able to meet these time?
The biggest problem is when she responded to me today, she didn't provide me with deadlines. And I said, that's one of the things I asked you for. I will impose the deadlines as part of my recommendation to the board. And her response was, I'm working on getting some firm answers from the lawyers and engineering. I will forward as soon as I have confirmation. That was at 2:38 this afternoon.
Did they have counsel at the meeting that you?
No, they did not.
Okay. All right. So I don't think like a consent agreement or some kind of document that they're going to sign on to it is imminent at this point. They wouldn't come up with a particular set of dates. These aren't their dates.
Those are my dates that I drafted.
Okay,
So
that's
let's
fine.
put the dates in.
I'm happy with
Great.
that
Go ahead.
resolution then.
Nancy?
So, so where they didn't give you dates, and these are your dates, and then they're not here.
I know.
Let's just make the motion.
Do we have to open a hearing and do all that?
You have a,
You have opened the hearing.
But so-
You opened the hearing.
Oh, wait.
this is,
Yeah.
but is this,
You opened the hearing.
No, I didn't. So should I open the
You should
hearing?
open the hearing.
open the continued hearing,
Okay.
right? Is that,
Make the
did we
motion to open.
continue?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is,
Yeah, well, I think a lot of my discussion at least was whether or not we were going to, I was thinking of putting this over to have them before us for a future hearing to try and reach a consent decree. I think at this point, that's not, doesn't look good. So let's open the hearing.
Okay.
Call
I'll make a
them.
motion to open the hearing in the issue regarding super sales. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hearing is now open. Is there anyone from Super Sales here to address the concerns that we brought to their attention at a selectmen's meeting last month? No, there isn't. Anybody from the public want to speak on behalf of this issue? No? Okay.
Town Administrator, you provided them with a packet of items that set out a numerous violations that exist.
Yes, I did.
And they signed off after receiving that package that they had an opportunity to ask all the questions regarding all those violations that existed.
Yes, I did.
And have you been trying to get a deadline for them to comply with these?
Yes, I did, and what you have in your packet is what I received from her today.
Okay.
I reviewed that package, and it's pretty clear, from the language, it's pretty clear what the violations are and what they need to do, and I have, I'm satisfied that those violations exist, and they shouldn't be, just the one that they don't even have a toilet on the facility, and
It's crazy enough.
just the start of the situation.
So I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is now closed. Do we have a motion on what we're going to do with this business?
Yes. So I will make a motion, under the power vested of the board, under General Law, Chapter 140, determine that Super Sales, the current holder of a Class 2 license at 1900 Main Street, map 46, lot 27, to store and sell used vehicles and repair said vehicles because the license holder is not a proper person under General Law, Chapter 140, Section 59, to hold a Class 2 license due to the following multiple problems at the property, unless the problems are timely cured, including encroachment past the limits of the licensed property, zoning violations, tax, I can never add, arrearages, septic issues, wetland issues, and DEP issues.
Second that.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
400.
You want me to do this?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
Break it up a little.
There you go. Perfect.
I have a second motion in this matter. We move that the Board of Selectmen, under the power vested under the Board under General Laws, Chapter 140, vote to determine that Super Sales, the current holder of a Class 2 license at 1900 Main Street, map 46, lot 27, to store and sell used vehicles and repair said vehicles, shall be renewed for a Class 2 license, but only if the following conditions, requirements, and deadlines are satisfied. And if they are not, the board will notice the license holder and hold a hearing regarding revocation of the license. The following conditions and requirements and deadlines are: all tax arrearages for the property shall be paid in full by March 1, 2017. There shall be no repair or storage of vehicles not for sale or sold at the property. The limits of the licensed property shall be strictly observed, and no encroachment of any kind beyond the licensed property shall take place, and all materials shall be removed from abutting properties. The Board of Health septic issues shall be resolved not later than February 15, 2017. All planning board site plan issues shall be resolved to the planning board's satisfaction by June 1st, 2017. All wetlands issues shall be resolved by the Conservation Commission to the Conservation Commission's satisfaction by June 1st, 2017. That all buildings issues shall be resolved by March 1st, 2017, including the satisfaction of all outstanding special permit conditions, including, but not limiting to, no storage of outside vehicles, trees need to be planted, HB place, handicap parking place shall be added, stripe the parking lot, delineate all parking places, and stormwater compliance.
I'll second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 400. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Quirk.
Yes, thanks, Alana. Let's go to the consent agenda items.
All set with me, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, thank you. Great work tonight. Thank you very much.
Happy New Year to all.
Yes,
It was
thank you.
interesting discussion.
Yeah.
You know I'm a junkie if I enjoy such a thing.
Oh, nice use of the word judge.
Trash
No pun intended. That was embarrassing.
I'll make a motion to approve the request
thank
from
you.
HESCO to hold the annual 5K road race March 18th, 2017 at 9 a.m.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do it under one.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Request by the owner.
Okay, request by the Honorable Jack Connor Jr. to hold a Walk 5K fundraiser to be held by Walpole residents at Adams Farm on April 20th, 2017. A request from Knights of Columbus for one-day all alcohol for January 8th, 2017, and a request from Blessed Sacrament School for a one-day wine and malt license on January 28th, 2017.
I'll second that. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Consent agenda item. Great. Town administrators report?
I don't have one at this time. We covered everything. Just briefly, the budget, I have no problem if you want to have a work session this month to go over the budget. It is balanced. I based it on
Congratulations.
you voting the way you did this evening. Where this is basically the worst case scenario. So it's balanced, and whenever your board would like, if you'd like to have a work session this month to go over it, if you'd like to meet individually with me, more than willing to do either one. So.
Right. Okay.
Okay. That's it.
Any old business? Any new business? No approval of minutes to, no minutes to approve?
I didn't put them on this week.
Awesome.
They are done.
Thank you. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. 400. Thank you for watching, and have a safe night.